Hello, we're the History Hikers. I'm Dries,
And I'm Jente.
and we are standing in front of the Abbaye d'Oerskamp, or the Abbey of Oerskamp. Behind the newer facade lies the ruins of a Gothic abbey church. So we're going to check that out at least. Anything you want to add?
Well, the name Oerskamp comes from the legend in which St. Eligius battled a bear to plow the field because the bear just had killed his ox. We don't know, of course, if St. Eligius actually battled a bear, but what we know is that in the 7th century he founded an oratory here, and that in the 12th century St. Bernard of Clairvaux came by and made it a Cistercian abbey. After the French Revolution it was disbanded, and since 1940 the abbey is now home to the congregation of des Serviteurs de Jésus et Marie.
Yeah, so it was Eligius who used the bear to plow his field, right?
Yes, Oerskamp. So
Yeah.
Ours is bear in French.
Yep, alright. Interesting story. Let's go check out the abbey. Let's start by appreciating this majestic front gate. And it's like, oh, it's just a gate. And over there is the abbey. I read that they placed this big building in front of the church because the church was Gothic, and Gothic was no longer in style during the, let's say 17th century. I don't know when it was built, but they wanted to hide the Gothic church behind this also pretty facade, but not as pretty as Gothic, of course.
Gothic should always be in style.
Yeah. The abbey is located in the village of Chiry-Oerskamp, set on the banks of the river Oise, in the department that bears the same name as the river. As we mentioned in the intro, the name originates from a legend where Saint Eligius tamed a bear that killed his ox and used that bear to plough the field. Ursus means bear and campus means field in Latin.
The right wing of this big main building is named De Lorraine. It was extensively damaged during bombings in World War I. The central part of this building was a facade of the abbey church, rebuilt to hide the 12th century church. The left wing, named De Gesvres, used to house the administrator of the monastery. Today it's home to the Congregation des Serviteurs de Jésus et Marie, who still live here.
After passing through the doors, we enter the beating heart of the abbey. This used to be the abbey church. The trees represent the pillars of the nave that have disappeared.
Saint Eligius had founded an oratory on this site in 641. The abbey itself was founded some centuries later by Bernard and 12 monks from Clairvaux in 1129. The 12th century saw the construction of the abbey church in the Lazaretto, which is an isolation hospital for infectious diseases. Very fitting in our current time. From 12 initial monks, the abbey grew exponentially over the next century. In the 13th century, the abbey already had some 500 monks and possessed a lot of land, farms and barns in the region. Ruins of the chancel have been preserved. It was built in the 13th and restored in the 18th century. It is a beautiful example of early Gothic architecture. It comprises of high vaulting on 2 levels, with arched vaults and large windows topped with an oculus. The triforium was added at a later date.
Fancy stonework on the pillars. And the vaulting into the vaults. The vaulted ceilings. It's cool that the vaults remain, but the ceilings don't. These two chapels are among the oldest parts of the church, dating to the 12th century. At the southern side of the chancel used to be a building housing the monks' living quarters, the vestry and the chapter house. The columns on the ground frame the outlines of this building that is now completely lost. The monks used to be able to enter the church directly from the first floor via a grand entrance, which is still visible in the wall. In the Middle Ages there used to be 3 floors, including the basement. We can see the remains of 5 floors, however. This is because it was rebuilt in the 19th century when the building was home to a cotton mill. Its location near the French heartland of the Ile-de-France also made the abbey victim to many of the conflicts that plagued the region throughout the ages. During the peasant uprising of La Grande Jacquerie in 1358, the abbey was pillaged and burned. Urskamp had to endure strife until the 17th century. At the end of the 17th century, the buildings were in such deplorable state that most of them had to be rebuilt. Only the infirmary, abbey church and some other outbuildings were saved.
That's a Flemish or Dutch? That's a Flemish or Dutch stone. Pastorale eenheid Heilige Jacobus en Antonius. In the back of the abbey grounds we find a large building built in the first half of the 13th century. This used to be the infirmary of the abbey. After the destruction of the abbey church in the 19th century, this building was repurposed as a chapel. The French Revolution drove out the monks in 1792. The abbey was to be sold as national property during the revolution, but the buyers were unable to raise the money. It thus escaped demolition as a stone quarry and was converted into a military hospital. A few years later, the abbey became property of Maximilien Radit de Saint-Foy, who had the nave of the church destroyed to create a more romantic landscape. He also transformed the facade. The carved bear on the pediment dates from this period. Inside, we can enjoy the purity of the Gothic vaulting. The yellow paint on the wall is authentic and the parts of the original floor are also still visible.
In 1823, the estate was bought and transformed into a cotton mill. During the First World War, the Germans occupied the abbey. The French troops would bomb the abbey in February of 1915, inflicting more damage on the abbey buildings. In 1940, the abbey was entrusted to the Congrégation des Serviteurs de Jésus et Marie, who still live here today. We now find ourselves at the backside of the building de Lorraine, which was bombed during World War I. This is the site of the original monastery, to the south side of the church. The only remaining element is the well in the center. We can, however, still find traces on the walls of the arches that used to line this space.
As we exit the abbey, we take a last look at the imposing courtyard and glance at the northernmost building. These buildings date to the 18th century and used to be the home of the abbot. On the southern side of the courtyard used to be similar buildings, though they were destroyed in World War I.
That was the abbey in Oerskamp. How did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was quite nice. A little bit sad that we couldn't really go in the ruin, only around, but of course I know that they have to take precautions for falling stones and everything. They don't want us to get hurt.
Yeah, those bloody good monks don't want us to get hurt. Yeah, it was kind of nice. Yeah, I like those ruined abbeys. And when we do have a chance, we'll try to visit them. Anything else to add?
Nope.
Nope. Alright, then we were the History Hikers. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like, comment or subscribe to allow us to continue making these videos in the future. And we'll be seeing you next time. Bye!
Bye!